Ba-ba-ba-bum. Well, hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fabulous day on planet Earth? Welcome, everyone. So good to see you. You know, the energy is just, I don't know, fantastic. It's groovy. What can I say? Hello, everyone. So good to see you. Hello, all the moderators, David Barry and Cajun Queen Tarot, Miss Lois, and Conscious Evolution. Hello. Casey, how are you? Nina the Mystic, hello. The Master Troy. Jack 68, good to see you. Miam, I like that. Emerald Eagle, welcome everybody. May I just invoke favor upon us all? Favor of the finest kind, as they would say. And may it find us and stay with us daily. Really, nothing missing, nothing broken in your life. You go out that way and you leave a well-satisfied person. I wonder how many people actually leave in a, how shall we say, fully satisfied state of consciousness. I don't think many. I really don't. I don't. Sad, isn't it? We're going to be talking about some of that, not now, but later. Not today, later. Anyway, happy birthday to all of those and anniversaries to everyone who's having one. Great time to be alive. You've got to admit that. And tomorrow on A Second Look, Trina will be on. Be fun, right on. Every time she comes on, things get deep. Things that'll make you step back and go, yeah. Anyway, have you joined the Crystal Network? You should be a part of it. I'll be putting a permanent link of it on the landing page here on the channel. But yeah, be a part of something that is going to be something that's going to be very special. And as we progress in our studies, there's a lot in our community that, well, they're face challenging times. I like to say to those that are, particularly the ones that are new, there are many people in here that, things have changed in their lives. I get emails on it all the time. One of the things that we do, and I will bring this because I forgot to do it yesterday. This is the invocation. You should be speaking over yourself every day. You should have it printed. I always tell people, tape it to the mirror in the bathroom. You got to look at yourself anyway. So do it when it's the best time. Anyway, let's go through this. We'll just use this in the third person term. All these favors will come upon us and overtake us if we give voice to them each day. Favor will be with us in the city, and favor will be with us in the country. Favor will heal our bodies when we speak favor into our bodies. Favor will set apart our children, our livestock, our ground as favored with abundance of joy. Favor will be on our food, our water, our pantry, where we store our food. Favor will walk with us when we come in, and favor will walk with us when we go out. Favor will cause our enemies to be at peace with us. Favor will be upon our barns and storehouses where we keep our valuables to prosper and to be in safety. Favor will be upon us in everything we undertake. Favor will set everything we set our hand to. Favor will cause it to prosper. Favor shall be upon all of our material property and shall cause it to last longer and not break. Favor shall protect us, our offspring, our possessions from calamity. Favor will lead us to good fortune in all things. Favor will cause us to be the head and not the tail. Favor will cause us to come out on top and not beneath. And favor will cause us to always be above and not below. Favor will cause us to have favor with the elements. And favor will cause us to be favored in the spiritual realm. Favor will cause us to be favorable to everyone we meet. They will see us with favor. Favor will seek us out. And we say collectively, it will be created according to our words, and what has been said has been done. Bam. And I'm serious. You guys should have this. I know many of you do, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, and I'm surfing here on the controls, but I know where we are on the road. It's because I got a map right here. So, hey, Trina, how are you, my dear? Favor works, folks. You know, there was a time where, you know, I would have cursed myself or someone else, you know, damning it and the whole list. And now I don't do that because we know what that does. That creates servitors that, well, that's why you have to do a cleansing, because many of these servitors that we created, yes, we created, have been biting us in the derriere for quite some times. We want to know why. Remember the line in Forrest Gump? Yeah. Why does shit happen? Well, I can tell you why, because us humans, we've created some bad things. We've created some good things, but we're taught to create the bad things. It's easier to cuss, you know. There are some children I have seen that you have to almost believe in reincarnation because they have a potty mouth that no child could come into the world knowing, and particularly to do it in such a manner that you go and shake your head going, where did that child learn that? And then you want to know about the parents, like, what the heck is going on there? All right. We're going to get into the book on how to create a servitor, but it's very important that I think we understand something. Now, I'll start putting it in, and my apologies on this, the academic.edu website where you can go and surf, you know, millions and millions of academic papers. There are many books that these professors and tenure professors are for their thesis, their masters, their PhDs, their doctorate, etc. So it's a good place. Now, I found one that is really, really interesting, folks. This is called the Aether. The abstract, this is an academic paper. The abstract is this: the existence of an electromagnetic ether is argued from two standpoints: conceptual, based on the nature of physical waves, and practical, the various experimental measurements that demonstrate it. Possible reasons for the strange nullification of the positive 1887 Michelson-Morley ether when results are discussed. I did a video on this, and we ought to redo it because many people probably don't remember that. Folks, this is probably one of the best position papers I have come across in discussing from a science point of view the wrong turn we took. Einstein is blamed for it, but the author here gets into it in a much deeper way. The preamble to this is, as he writes, to leave the main body of the text as uncluttered as possible, cross-references and asides are placed in footnotes. The endnotes contain source references only. In the internal case, they comprise of the main site name with year and month of access in brackets. So he's basically setting the position of all his references. The introduction, this is very cool. Ether. The ether today is a scientific verbal obscenity. The unspeakable AE word that no professional physicist shall ever be heard to utter on pain of being branded a deranged crackpot and saying goodbye to his hopes of a successful career. The concept of an ether was long ago discarded as a relic of the 19th century voodoo science. Robert Laughlin, the word ether has extremely negative connotations in theoretical physics due to the opposition of relativity. This is ironic because it nicely captures the way most physicists think about a vacuum. The ether, nevertheless, has a long, distinguished pedigree. The word derives from the Sanskrit asksha, which can also simply mean space. References to it are common in Greek, Egyptian, and Indian philosophy from the 5th century BC onwards, where it was conceived as the material filling the ethereal world region above the terrestrial sphere, being described as, told you this stuff is good, man. Get this. This is the ether. This is where we're all going back to, folks. This is why it ties into our study. The most subtle substance in creation, the mother of all other phenomena. Homer uses it in the sense of fresh air or clear sky, the pure essence breathed by the gods. And Exostros speculated that atoms are vortexes in the ether, an idea that was taken up in modern times by Lord Kelvin. In the medieval cosmos, the innermost terrestrial sphere was made of the 4 classic elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Philosophy, what? Of occultism. The outer celestial sphere containing the heavenly bodies was the quintessence, the 5th essence, effectively the ether. Now, if you want this, I've got it. It's here. We're not going to take on because this is not what we're actually getting. But the point is this. Scientists today, physicists today, are now taking that step of going, well, now, wait a minute. You know, this thing was around here for millennia. And then all of a sudden we thought we got too smart that we had to discount it because, again, most physicists are taught that the ether and relativity would basically not mix, but actually they do. So good book. Check it out if you'd like it. It's a well-written paper. Goes on to talk about we are discovering the ether and such things as electromagnetism, electromagnetic. That realm now where we've done on my radio show on Thursday nights, the Steiger Perspective, many studies on why the Chinese are like hell-bent in getting this thing solved, this soul thing, this thing that we go to. What is it? Is there an opening to it? If there is, how is it going to be manipulated? I mean, they're into this. And I have a feeling that if they are, so are we. Speaking of the United States, a nice, delightful spell book. I like this one. This is of the widest, purest magic of. I've gone through this, so there's nothing negative here. I love this one. Getting your mojo, your job mojo. I mean, come on. Money spell. Listen, there are stories out there, and I don't recommend it, but that people use these things and they win. The thing about it is that the smart ones, they don't go for the big, jackpots. Far better to be under the radar. Anyway, I won't go any further than that. But this is like I said, I like this one. I haven't found anything negative about it. It's kind of cool. So if you want it, let me know. I'll send it to you because it's. But the Ether white paper, I think all of us should have that. You should have that in your digital library. We'll be putting it up on the Crystal Network library. These are the kind of things that knowledge, if you approach it saying, okay, let's step back from all the dogma, all the rhetoric, and let's see what's really going on here. And I am thankful that there are scientists out there, physicists that are taking the bold step to go where no physicist would dare to go, as I said. So, yeah. Anyway. See, I'm just reading what's going on. I think Trina and I will talk about this. Well, the ether. So, little introduction. Well, Jack 68, thank you. Wow, that's very kind. So let me pull this up. I wanted to do a very thing. The title of today's lesson is Let's Create. Very quickly, we all can do this. And I thought this is probably the best representation graphically about what's really going on here. I mean, it's that activation of the more that third eye is activated, you'd be surprised how much more. We're beginning to find out that we are atom, A-T-O-M, not A-T-U-M, atom. It's what we're made up of. I like this. If your soul fills your mind with spiritual energy, you will be mindful. And the workings of this engine can produce miracles. Every one of us have our miracle. We have our own solutions within us. Another one, living only in the physical, mental, and emotional realm makes energy limited. Tap into the spiritual dimension and energy is limitless. You begin to understand this. You're already doing it. As I tell people, you're doing it already, man. Understand, So, how do we stop boomeranging us? And that's what we're doing. So many of us are psychic boomerangs. Whoosh! We send it out there, and particularly, intuitives, empaths, adapts, those who have made the commitment to do the journey, to do the inner work. What we find out sometimes is that, it's powerful stuff, baby. That's all I got to tell you. As Robert Palmer saying, it's powerful stuff, this love, powerful stuff. And it is. It will, sometimes bite us in the ass, as they would say. And anyway, let it be whatever. All right. So we create this stuff around us. when we begin to understand why we have struggled all of our lives, why so many times we get into social situations where many of us, we become overwhelmed because we're picking up so much energy, we got no freaking way of knowing what the hell was going on. I look back now on some things, and if I had just had the knowledge that I have now, oh, I could have controlled it, baby. No doubt about it. And transmuted it. I'm doing that now, daily. It's like something is testing me. And the thought comes in, right? And I can feel it, folks, immediately. How do you describe this? It's of substance. And you can feel it even affecting your body. And, now I immediately, banish it. I tell it to take a hike. It's like, hit the road, Jack. Get on out of here, because I ain't putting up with it anymore. Have you ever told yourself to just F off? Come on, be honest. And not in a way of anger, but in a way of where you've just come to this point now where you have to start talking to yourself in a manner that the old process no longer is acceptable. I have told myself here recently, because I know of these tests that continue to pop up. And I was busy reading, doing something, and, that thoughts dropped in. And I said, well, wait a minute. Where the hell did that come from? And I know where it came from. And I literally told it to take a effing leap. I ain't got time for it, is what I told. So, I ain't got time for this. And, I take this energy and I laugh. And when you laugh, you actually banish it. Try it sometime. It works. Hey, Brandy, how you doing? So good to see you. So, yeah. All right. So, hey, Cape Breton, is that right? Britain? I don't know. I think I mispronounce it all the time, but that's okay. Victor says entertaining thoughts. Yeah. So, all right, let's get right to where we left off, because this is what people are wanting to know. I got a lot of emails that back me up, but this is cool. A lot of people, all right, and they're saying, well, all right, let's get to this next part. So, cheers, wherever you may be at. Cup of tea, a pint, whatever it may be. Enjoy the libation. Creating your servitor. Creating a servitor should be fun and a creative exercise. I've heard from a number of people that the internet is full of different versions of how to do this, and most of them tend to involve all sorts of weird and arcane phenomena. There is no need for arcane phenomena. There is no need for uric color matching or odd trances. Creating a servitor is a natural act and only becomes difficult and arcane when those that are trying to create a servitor don't have any faith in their own inherent magical nature. Stop and think about this one, folks. That's what I did yesterday about faith. Yeah, I hear George Michael too. You got to have faith, faith, faith. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what, I hope he's still singing. Loved the dude. I really did. Loved his music. Anyway, I digress. So you got to have faith, baby. That's all I got to say. You got to have faith. All we're doing here is working with beliefs and a type of concentrated attention, which is quite definitely psychic force. But this psychic force is not occult jargon that one can only access during a full moon in a certain time of year, and the symbolism needed in order to codify this thought form does not need to come from some arcane grimoire from the bowels of Babylonia. I love this guy's writing. As I mentioned in the first chapter, thoughts have a certain thickness that we are not able to completely perceive. When we are creating a thought form, like a servitor, we use a certain type of symbolism in order to give our servitor form an intent. But this exterior form is not representative of all that the thought form is or will become. Give me 1 second there, folks. And then he says, well, then why did you go and do that? This certain thickness that makes up our thought form, our servitor, is some sort of like a code inside a software program. No kidding. I think that's exactly what it is. We might call our thought form by names such as Microsoft Word, and we might see a logo of it on our desktop in order to identify it better. But this name and logo do not represent all the coding that goes into making a software program like Word actually work. The coding of our servitor thought form is done with the great power of our psyche. In other words, we don't need to write code. The code is naturally created by our inner self, and our inner self is a master coder in this realm. All that is needed from us on a conscious level is intention and very focused attention. We achieve this conscious mental action in 3 ways. Number 1, creation and design. 2, charging. 3, casting or sending forth. We do not need to do the coding. Our inner self will take care of that. We do not need to follow arcane rituals or create odd trance states. Those that rely on such things tend not to trust in the power of their magical inner selves and tend to rely on weird paraphernalia because they lack the faith necessary to achieve truly positive results. Well, I hope there's no long-tailed cats in this room of rocking chairs. That's all I got to say. When their thought forms don't work, they will usually respond by saying, my thought form didn't work, the moon was in the wrong quadrant, and the intention wasn't embedded deeply enough into the subconscious mind using the right etheric frequency. Whew. All that you need is singular focus on a conscious level while you are performing the 3 steps mentioned above. In this chapter, we will focus on the creation of your servitor, which is step 1 on our 3-part process. To that end, I recommend that you get yourself a piece of paper and find a quiet room where you can relax and concentrate on the work at hand. Number 1, statement of intent. The first thing that you will want to do is to create a statement of intent. This is essentially just what it sounds like. Create a phrase or a paragraph that describes exactly what you want to accomplish with your servitor, what you do want your servitor to do. This is a very important step because it will really clarify exactly what you want. So what is it that you want? Let's say you need a financial break in your life. You need something that you haven't been able to penetrate, something that you haven't been able to figure out. Write that down. The thing that I find, folks, and this is my commentary. I've got decades experience at this. The reason most people fail is that they will not do this step here. In fact, I can tell you, I learned this step back in the days in the 70s. There were a number of things that were going around. Est was one. I don't know if many of you know that. Come from, Church of Scientology. But nevertheless, there were things that I'm looking back now that I began to realize very quickly. There is a magic that is known. Most people in the material world or the physical plane are not aware of it, but they're using it. Case in point, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to seek investment capital, simply speaking, your idea is not going to get you anywhere, baby. It's not going to get you nowhere. It requires a disciplined, methodical approach. And everything starts with writing it down. I mean, that's what a business plan is. A business plan is the complete life of a business. It begins to take on a personality. You put a business plan together, which can take months, and it becomes a living thing. And by the way, that is actually reiterated in the Old Testament. You have to write the vision down. This is the same thing. What's the vision of this servitor? What is it going to do? The more you get detailed, very specific, magic happens. All right, I'll continue. This is a very important step because it will really clarify exactly what you want. Clarifying what you want allows you to get it by helping you come up with a really concise design and intent for your servitor. An example of a statement like this would be something like, I want to protect my home. Therefore, I want, folks, I don't know what is going on here. There is actually a bug flying around that I know you can't see it. I know it looks like I'm reaching into air, but I don't even know where this thing came from. Anyway, let me just banish it. I banish you to the other world. All right. I want a servitor to protect my home. It is essentially a very simple statement, but it begins to focus your mind on the task at hand. This statement or paragraph should be at the beginning of your page. You might need to modify the statement once you write it down. There might be things that come to mind as you write the statement, things that you didn't think until after you wrote it, or that you would like to express more precisely. If this is so, then write your corrected statement underneath and keep doing this until you have the statement that you think exemplifies what you want. Here's the key. This is called in entrepreneurship is called the mission statement. What is your mission statement for your servitor? And I can assure you, you will in fact rewrite it. But that's cool. Second one, appearance, purpose, and powers. Now that you know what you want, start thinking about the kind of servitor that you would like to have in order to realize your desires. If, for example, you wish to have a servitor to protect your home, then you might begin to imagine the creature that you would like for this task. You might want something like with armor on it, or perhaps you might wish to have some kind of ethereal creature that might imbue your entire place with protecting light or loving energy or favor. Underneath your most refined statement of intent, write a paragraph that describes exactly what your servitor will be doing and how it will be doing it. In other words, what is its purpose? You've got to tell it. It's like a robot. Blank slate here. You're the one who's doing all the programming. What is your servitor, your robot, your artificial human, however you want to describe it, going to do? What is it? What is it going to be imbued with when it comes to consciousness? That's what we're talking about. Underneath your most refined statement of intent, write a paragraph that describes exactly what your servitor will be doing, how it will be doing it. Use points, form, or whatever style you like. Be as descriptive as possible and contemplate, your desires so that you begin to map out exactly what your servitor will look like and what it will be doing. At this time, you'll want to fully develop all the powers that your servitor will have. It is quite possible that after all this work, you will have a pretty clear picture of the kind of servitor that you want, and you will most likely even have a name that you might feel represents your servitor. If you treat all this like fun and creative endeavor, you will find it very easy to focus all of your attention on it. And that is key. Perception. I mean, if you're doing this like, well, I'm not rightly too sure about this, this may put, nah, don't do it. Now, if you're coming in like this, far freaking out. Let's get this on. I mean, folks, we're going over there. You're going, when you die, sweetheart, that's where you're going. And to be afraid of it is preposterous. Means you're going to be afraid waking up over there. And that ain't a good position to be because fear stinks. It does. Anyway, watch K-Pax. You'll know what I mean. All right. The author says, I personally will recommend that you keep your servitor's design simple and small. The reason for this is that it takes a lot of energy and concentration to create a large or highly complex creatures. You want something that you can visualize easily and that will come together before you without much difficulty. As an example, try to visualize a red rose before your eyes. Then try to visualize a red square. So let's just do that. I can see it. Yep. I can see the square. Oh, I'm wearing red. See how that works? Anyway, if you are new to visualizing, then both will be hard for you, but you will find that unless you are a very good visualizer, the red square is much easier to visualize. Why? Because it's not complex. A rose, you have to see it as an artist. I see the petals. I can see the complexity, you see? But with a red square, yeah, that's right there. I can see that. Yeah. Close my eyes. I got it right there in point. So it's the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. So keep it simple at first. Your servitors will work better and the job will be much easier. Also, don't be afraid to borrow any image that you like. If, for example, you play some video game and find in it a creature that you think would make that perfect servitor, use it. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Drawing. Now the fun really begins. Underneath the descriptive paragraph, sketch a design for your servitor. Nothing fancy. Just iron out the design that has been percolating in your mind until you have a creature with all the attributes that you want. Underneath all this is it's also a good idea to do a point-by-point list of your servitor's powers. It could be something like it glows with intense loving energy, or it shoots lasers out of its eyes. It's up to you to give it the power you think it will need. Now, I'll help you with a little shortcut here. Those of you who say you're lousy drawers, can't color inside the line, that's cool. Then go on the internet, cut and paste the image, and print it off. If you don't have a printer, well, keep it to where it's a file. Anything that you can add to what you're doing here, cut and paste it into a Word document. It's not that difficult, folks. It's just a matter of using the technology that all of us have at hand. All right, name. Boy, have we gone down this. If you're new to this channel, then you got to go and catch up on the past videos. Names are so important. That's the whole reason for, when I tell people and they try to come and tell me about, this Jesus character, and I go, yeah. Doesn't your book say only those who know the true name of the Lord shall be saved? The true name? Guess what? Nobody knows. Anyway, I digress. All right. When this is done, write the name of your servitor underneath the picture you just drew. Now, the reason why you should draw it, is because you're transferring energy. To draw requires concentration. The name is important because this is how you will call the servitor to you. It is a magical word. Your name is a magical name. I contend that many of us will get our true names. We all have a true name. It's not the name that you've been given, trust me. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I digress again. You must therefore never reveal the name of your servitor to anyone. You see, I think that's why we don't know our true names. That's why no one knows what a God's true name is. If you know its name, you control it. That is a magical fact, Jack. All right. Hello, Bill Murray. So up to this point, you have a statement of intent, an executive summary, a mission statement, a paragraph that describes what your servitor will be doing and its powers, a personal drawing of what your servitor looks like, your servitor's power in point form, your servitor's name. Now, I'll share something with you. See, I was attracted to the fourth seal of Jupiter. For me, it's when you see it, you go, okay, I can see that. And then you build upon that. Anyway, your servitor's name. The final step in creating your servitor is optional. What you will be doing now is what I referred to as creating a logo of your servitor. In order to do this, you can take a couple of different approaches, but essentially, what you will want to do is to really simplify the picture that you drew of what your servitor looks like. For example, sigils, folks. If your servitor looks very much like a turtle, you might want to create a very simple octagonal shape with a number of other identifying marks to represent the logo version of your servitor. You see, we've been guided all along in this channel. You guys know this week makes the first full year of doing the noonday shows. So anyway, we've discussed this, and there are playlists that will get into this. So we understand this point. Many of us are snapping to this, going, yep, now I'm beginning to see this. Yep, that's the whole idea. Another method that people have used is to take the name of your servitor and simplify and combine letters of this name in order to create a type of sigil that symbolically represents your servitor. For example, if your servitor is called Turtle, you could create a logo of your servitor like this. You can see every letter of the word turtle. It's represented in the sigil. So let's see, do we see turtle here? Okay. How many of you see that? We know what this is. Now, I do find one interesting point is his the bow up there, open-ended energy source. That's very interesting. All right. It is up to you to decide what you find better. I personally like to use the simplified drawing of what I think my servitor looks like. It is easier for me to concentrate on this particular logo at first. I find it easier to do this than to try and create a correlation between a servitor sigil and my actual thought form. Now that I can understand, folks, and I think he's really giving some really good advice here. Many of us are skilled at sigils, charging, empowering them, putting them to work. That's what we've been doing. But this may, in fact, even enhance some of that. Now putting the pieces and connecting the tapestry here. And, when I lived in East Tennessee, every year at this time, they have the country fairs, and they have quilting bees. And it's wonderful to watch these women come together and make these fabulous quilts. This is, I think, what we're doing here. We're laying the patches together, and I think we're going to step back, and I think this is going to be quite beautiful. Some people find this to be exactly the opposite and have an easier time identifying symbolically with the sigil version only. I suggest, therefore, that you try both methods and see what works best for you. Well, many of us are already skilled at this on the sigil side. I think that we're going to get just as skilled in doing this. We'll do probably one of the lessons, we'll do this together. We'll actually come in here and use the PowerPoint. There's a program you can use. Anyway, the simplified image or logo, and again, getting back to entrepreneurship, you have a name for your company, you have to have a logo. Yeah, isn't that odd? And we learned these things. For your servitor is very helpful when you begin part 2 of the process, which involves charging your servitor. It is much easier to visualize your servitor in logo form at first, and after a while, this logo version becomes easy to see in your mind's eye. Bingo! That's it. Once you see it, once you know it, I have a particular thing that I have projected out. I'm not going to say what it is, but at an instant, if I'm cooking or if I'm doing something other, if I'm reading, I can stop and I can replay it. It's as real to me. It's already happened. It's already in my mind a memory, which a memory means that it's already happened. It's not something I'm looking to the future about. In my mind, the scene is already created. Same thing. Once I find it quite easy to visualize my servitor logo, I begin to try and see a more structured and detailed version of my thought form. In this way, my creature evolves over time into a far more detailed and powerful agent. Charging your servitor. Writing about how to charge a servitor is actually a pretty easy task because the technique is a simple one to put down on paper. However, saying and doing are two different issues, and this is why I'll try to take a little time to explain what's going on in a more metaphysical sense. I have previously mentioned that on the internet, you can find numerous ways of creating a servitor. Many of these methods involve weird rituals or terrible, complicated trance states. I mentioned that the reason for this is because many people do not understand the magical aspects of our inner psyche, and therefore think that they must partake in highly complex and complicated procedures in order to perform something that is actually a quite natural process. I also try to use the software metaphor in order to try to explain how something that might look simple on the surface is in actuality something far more complex subjectively and involves an incredible amount of internal creative work. This type of inner work or psychic creation is happening anytime that we have a thought within our minds. We're creating all the time, folks, all the time. What I'm trying to say then is that while on a conscious level, we are performing something that might seem simple, our inner psyche is actually performing a far more powerful and difficult maneuver. This maneuver involves the combination of a huge amount of information and energy. To try and explain this, we could think of a simple task. Let us say, for example, that we consider the act of walking across a room to pick up a glass of water from the table. We can say that for the most part of us, this is a simple act, one that we don't really need to think about very much in order to perform. All we need to do is set our intention and act. But this physical act seems simple only on the surface. When we walk across a room to pick up a glass of water, we do not need to consciously think very much. We take it for granted that our body will perform impeccably. We do not consciously decide to take one foot and put it in front of the other. We do not, and probably could not, consider every single muscular movement required in order to take one single step, let alone walk across the room. These are not conscious functions, yet our body is able to perform this truly extraordinary feat because our inner psyche is able to correlate all of the information and tasks required in perfect order with a logic and intuition that would put any modern computer to shame. It can propel us through space so that we are able to satisfy our desire. Now, I want to stop here. Folks, when you stop and think about this, each one of us are occupying space. And then to be able to literally take the initiative to, for instance, have a sip of tea. We could go on for an hour of everything that took required to do that. You've got magic in you, baby. All right. The technique for creating a servitor is the same as this. It is a natural one, and in many ways, an effortless one. An effortless one in the sense that the inner psyche will work without our conscious needing to worry about the huge complexity involved in the task. But not a completely effortless one, because just like anything else that we are doing for the first time, it will take a little effort to get it right at first. When you see your grandchild or any baby that takes their first step, they're like, I think I got this, and they're going to fall. But they always get back up. The same you should do as well. Walking was like at first, after all, we had to learn to stand up, and we had to learn to develop a certain sense that could not really be explained, but that we do very well right now with hardly a thought. At that time, you did not need to learn how to move your muscles properly. That is, you just did not need to know exactly the exact alignments or anything else. No matter what some early child development theorist might say to the contrary, what you actually needed to do was to first find a sort of magical balance between your attention, your beliefs, and your desires. Our legs became strong on their own, and our balance worked itself out thanks to a multitude of unconscious processes that allow us in a few months to perform an incredible miracle, walking. We take it for granted, but it is an app. When you even think about it here, let's just think about the gravity. The fact that all of us, all we have to do is jump up in the air, and we are, for but the briefest moment, defying gravity. We are, in fact, you could say, levitating. But gravity pulls us back down, and our body reacts to it. We get it. It's quite amazing. When you charge a servitor for the first time, it will feel sort of like you're learning to walk all over again, but you'll get the hang of it very quickly. And once you have charged your servitor one time, the next time will seem infinitely easier. This is because, having done it once, your mind will begin to explore and realize all sorts of new and different capabilities. It will also be easier because, having charged your servitor once, the second charge will be like an accumulation on the first, making everything much easier to focus on. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you do it, the stronger your creature gets, and the easier it is to recharge it and to see it manifest. So let's get to it then. In order to charge your servitor, what I want you to do is to get that piece of paper that you used to create your servitor in the first place. If you would like to, you can also get a new piece of paper, and on this new piece of paper, write down the logo version of your servitor along with its name. With this paper in hand, I want you to find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for the next 10 to 30 minutes. Take some time to relax. And as you do so, I want you to begin to pay attention to the picture, the name that you have before you. Begin by repeating the name to your servitor quietly. Now, during the next 10 to 30 minutes, I want you to focus completely on your servitor and imagine with every single fiber of your being that this servitor is real and it is now before you. I personally recommend that you begin this exercise as one would begin a game. Imagine back in the time when you were a child and you were able to pretend that this or that was real. As a child playing a game, you could pretend for hours. Imagine, for example, that you were some kind of astronaut and that you were inside a big giant spaceship, pretending like this was easy because it wasn't a task. It was a game. With this same kind of childlike enjoyment, I want you to pretend that your servitor that you have before you on paper is real. As you begin to do this exercise, you might want to imagine that you can actually see the servitor above your paper, becoming more and more focused and solid. While I want you to visualize this creature, for me, with as much detail as possible, I want you to always stay focused on the fact that your main concern is to believe that your servitor is real. It is the actual fact of belief that is important here. It is as important as your mental focus. By mental focus, I mean that you are concentrating only on the act that you are performing right now, and you forget about every single other thought but this one thing that you are doing now. The act of believing is a difficult one, and doubts will creep up seemingly out of nowhere, which will affect your concentration. If this happens to you, just power through it, clear your mind, and then begin to focus once again on the fact that you believe with every single fiber of your being that the servitor before you is real and that it is becoming manifested before your eyes. Your eyes should be open during this exercise, and you should be wide awake. If you can do this with great concentration and focus, you will not need to really visualize anything because these visualizations will begin to happen all by themselves. This is because you will not need to visualize some kind of blob of energy before you, because this blob will actually start to coalesce before you as you believe. Clear and vivid visualization must therefore naturally happen as a result of the focused manipulation of your beliefs. Try to maintain this focused belief session for 10 to 30 minutes. If done properly, you might find that it is quite strenuous. I can personally exert myself a great deal while doing an exercise like this. Sweating and a rise in blood pressure are not uncommon for me. Charging a servitor for the first time can take a lot of psychic force, and the amount of force tends to grow exponentially depending on the size and complexity of your servitor. I personally recommend that you charge your servitor 3 times before you consider it strong enough to go out in its first mission. Each charge should be performed just like I have outlined above and should happen on 3 consecutive days if you can. All right, well, we'll stop there and we will pick this up later. Isn't this some far out stuff? We're going to do this. What I will do is that I will work this out and put it into a PowerPoint presentation. So instead of having to go back and listen to me, you can actually go and just see it in the PowerPoint. And we'll do this. I'll work on this tomorrow. Trina will be on. I'll work onto it for Thursday. Let's see. Yeah, that did go extremely quick, David. I agree. This is the stuff that'll change your life. And listen, we've seen it all around us. Many different forms of belief. Voodoo. There's a lot of this discipline that I've read in, the New Dawn, the Golden Dawn, excuse me, Regardie's work. But I find it to be exactly this. It's interesting. I'm just seeing. Well, it's nuclear, Al. That's all I can say, Big Al. It's nuclear. It's more enjoyable when well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Darth, thank you. Susie Q. Now I got creams in my head, I can get that. I always got that scene, by the way. I digress and I'm not going over, but Apocalypse Now. Or anyway. But now you're seeing, and I want to encourage everyone here. So many of you are gifted artists. You can draw, you can create. Folks, that's the natural ability you have. When you paint something, when you draw something, when you write something, you're creating something that has your essence. And now, taking that same natural energy and ability and beginning to focus it, and this is what we're doing, we're just condensing it down to where we're getting it to right where we need it. And this is going to be fun. Let's everyone participate. This is going to be cool. I don't know if anyone will, but we'll see. I'm going to do it. And we got to make a little challenge to everyone. Give ourselves 30 days to create our own personal servitors. We'll all go through the same steps together, and then we will keep a community journal as to whose servitor has been charged and sent out on its first mission and returned successfully back. Now that's some far out stuff. Show me where else that's being done. Nowhere. All right, folks, much appreciate you. Y'all are just the best. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. I look forward to each day, and I hope you do too. It was the weirdest thing, folks. There's no bug in here now. It was a flying insect. I think it was like a mosquito, but we had 9 degrees last week. How could there be a mosquito? Anyway, weird stuff. Maybe that was a spirit being. If it was, I was trying to wipe it out. All right, far out. Trina and I will be on tomorrow with a second look, and I think we'll talk more about this. This is just powerful stuff, powerful stuff. All right, folks, y'all are the best. Thank you, Lois. By the way, Lois, we need to get you on, my dear, for the do a Thanksgiving benefit for the food pantry. All right, folks, thank you. And by the way, if you want to make a donation to the food pantry with Lois, Cajun Queen Tarot, it's on the front landing page. Go right up there, that little link will take you right to her PayPal account, and she could certainly use it. All right, folks, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.